Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into the JP Peterson Show. We're back in our friendly confines here this morning of our set here at CP Communications. We got a huge show coming up for you, brought to you by Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com. Check them out there, Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency. We got a tremendous show for you today. We are going to take you live to the President's Cup. We're going to have a little golf this weekend I'll be watching in between football games. It's going to be hard. It's hard to squeeze it in. But Gary Koch, the great Gary Koch, will join us from NBC Sports. So we'll chat with him at 11:15. Brian Battie, who almost single-handedly defeated the Gators last Saturday night, will join us right after practice at USF, probably around 11:30 there. They'll be handing him the phone, as we did with Gerry Bohanon a couple weeks ago. That worked out kind of well. So we'll chat with him. James Pataka from Fox Sports will join us at 10:30. I believe his crew is doing – off the top of my head, maybe Dolphins game this week. I'll have to read. But we'll talk to James Pataka and talk some NFL with him from Fox Sports. And Scott Carter will join us for the Jeeves Law Group Gator Report, which will be at 11 o'clock. And they got a big game with Tennessee coming up this weekend. So lots to talk about today. This is going to be a jam-packed show. So what we do each and every day, folks, 2 hours, and we need all 2 hours today to get into all of Tampa Bay sports. The Lightning had media day yesterday. We got a lot of sound from the players on that. So we're going to cover all of it for 2 hours, folks. If you're a Tampa Bay sports fan, tell all your friends, tell all your neighbors. You can listen to this show live every day, 10 to 12. It's on the podcast at Apple and Spotify, YouTube. We're all over the place, Twitter and Facebook. So please retweet the show. Tell everybody about it. If you're a sports fan, you got to be listening each and every day to 2 hours of nothing but Tampa Bay sports for the most part. Nick Geddes joins me here from Outsider.com. Great job, by the way, putting the studio back together. We've been bopping back and forth to some temporary places while we do a little overhaul here at CP Communications. So nice job, my friend. Well done.
Yeah, I think we're permanent too today.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to be hanging out here for quite some time.
Yeah, perks of being in a nice studio with people to go around helping hands. So
engineers everywhere
that can answer things that I cannot answer myself.
Yes. So hopefully we don't screw it up on our end today.
And I'm dressed for Gary today. I was feeling very golfy today.
Very nice, yes.
I'm not playing golf today, sadly, but I came dressed for Gary.
The President's Cup is very interesting this year. There's no question that the international team is depleted because of the rift between the two tours or the tours and LIV golf. But you know what? It's match play. All these guys are good enough to win. So all this, Americans being heavily favored, throw it out the window. These guys are all good. They're great players.
Give me the three Kims, man.
Yeah, the three Kims.
The three Kims.
Sounds like a song. Look. It's kind of it's different. There's no question about it. The President's Cup doesn't necessarily have the Ryder Cup cachet, but it sometimes provides a lot more excitement. They're doing it in Charlotte this year, so I've seen the build out. If you've been watching any of it, I love these golf team events. They're one of my favorite things. I just wish they weren't in the middle of football season.
I know there's just too much going on.
Yeah, you can't avoid it. There's no way to change it, but it's just always in the middle of football season. So
I know it's like I really wanted to watch the Winneba Finals the other day.
The what?
The Winneba Finals.
The Winneba Finals?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
The WNBA. Sorry, I really wanted to watch the WNBA Finals last Sunday, but damn, it started right when the Bucs did. Couldn't get to it.
Tough choice right
man.
there. All right, speaking of the Bucs. As we mentioned yesterday, Mike Evans, there at the end of the show, Mike Evans' suspension was upheld. That's not a shock, I think, to anybody. I mean, it was wishful thinking. Was the suspension unequal when you look at some of the Saints players that were involved in what they did? Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Lattimore is a repeat offender too. How he doesn't get a suspension boggles my mind because he's always the instigator when it comes to that. But evidently that doesn't rise to it. But it doesn't change what Mike Evans did. And, I said this yesterday, it's the repeat offender thing is a big deal. And Mike really didn't learn his lesson against New Orleans in 2017. And you can't – and look, folks, this is serious business because in the NFL, every game is basically a controlled fight. It's a controlled fight, and there's a very, very thin line between playing football and it being an all-out brawl. And you have to distinguish that to the players. Like they could fight on every play. They are fighting on every play. They're hand fighting. They're hitting each other. I mean, they're doing everything except throwing. I mean, punch. I mean, literally, they are throwing punches for the most. They're hitting with it's a fight. It's a controlled fight. So when it spills over into a real fight, it's just you got to come down hard with the hammer. You just can't have that in the NFL, or it's just going to be freaking chaos every week. You just can't have it. So I understand why they did it, and it's up to Mike Evans to control his emotions. It's all there is to it. Now, again, I said this, and I'll stick by it. At that particular moment in the game, the Bucs were getting pushed around, and Lattimore was talking crap. They were mugging the receivers, and Bruce Arians was chirping at the refs, and everybody for all the ticky-tack freaky calls that they called in that game. If you go back and look at the tape, and I was watching the All-22 yesterday, the receivers had hands on them all the way down the field. You know, after 5 yards, you got to let go. And their defensive backs are not doing that. So I don't understand why the refs aren't calling that. And because they were getting mugged. And, you know, and this is what happens when you don't officiate the game well. And that game was not officiated well. There were phantom personal foul calls on both teams. Stupid ticky-tack holding calls. Young Hockley, his crew is just awful. It's awful. Every time I see them officiating a game, I cringe because they're a bunch of lawyers running around looking for technicalities, and they miss the big stuff. So that game was not officiated well, and it got out of hand. And Mike Evans, yeah, you got to control your emotions because it's going to hurt the Bucs this week. There's no question about it. Because look at the injury report yesterday. I didn't know this. Scotty Miller has a calf injury. He was limited. Perriman was limited yesterday. Julio Jones was limited yesterday. Now, all those guys might play. We don't know. But how effective are they going to be? How much practice are they going to get in this week? Cole Beasley was out there for the first time. Kind of an ignominious beginning. He dropped the first punt, ran into O'Keefe, and his helmet popped off. Oh. It's a clown show. Oh. First time he touched the ball. But it'll get better. It'll get better. Look, this guy is a professional receiver. I thought it was funny him saying he's been sliding into Tom Brady's DMs, telling him to sign him.
That's how it works, apparently. Yeah, Julio did the same thing.
I guess it's the same. So, I'm guessing, though, he gets a lot of those. I think I've DM'd him a couple times.
He answers people that are important.
JP. Not getting back to me.
Not that guy that wanted to get a shock answer out of him in Dallas.
I'm going to the press conference today. I'll ask my questions today. So there you go. I might get one in, might not. But obviously, this receiving core is already depleted, which is all the more reason when they were healthy, I wouldn't have pushed Chris Godwin. But we're here anyway. I don't think Godwin plays this week. Russell Gage was also limited. Hello. So I think Russell Gage plays. I think Cole Beasley is going to be elevated, to be quite honest, at some point. I think Scotty Miller is going to play. Perriman's going to play, and I think Julio has a chance to play. But again, it's going to be very, a moving target, so to speak, at receiver for Tom Brady. He's not going to be. He practiced yesterday. Brady's been taking Wednesdays off, but he obviously realized, you know what, I practice this week because I don't know who the hell I'm going to be throwing to. So he had to get out there and practice, and he did. And we'll hear from Brady today, talk about those targets. But, when you look at this game, to me, it's the same recipe the first two games. The Bucs defense is going to have to go out and win this game, and I'm okay with it. They've owned Aaron Rodgers. He's not been at his best against this Bucs defense. They know how to pressure him. They do a lot of defensive back pressures. I think Antoine Winfield's going to have a lot of different blitz packages for him this weekend. So listen. They've shut down Aaron Rodgers before. This receiving core that he's with isn't even close to the one that the Bucs have shut down before. So I say huge advantage to the Bucs defensively. I think if Brady can manage 17, 20 points again this week, like against the Saints, I think they win the game.
Yeah, and you're going to get a heavy dose from Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I mean, that was Matt LaFleur's his main point that he wanted to take away from week one and get into week two. We got to get those guys more touches. And I think Aaron Rodgers said on McAfee the other day, we want to get those guys 15 touches each a game. I mean, that's 30 touches plus right there for two running backs. And the thing is, they're both pretty good receiving backs as well. And then they have, kind of like the yin and the yang. Jones has more burst. Dillon has more power. It works very well there. So I think you're almost getting it's so much more different than just, Devontae Adams is not there.
Right.
Because their receiving core is just not up to par at this moment. And Alan Lazard is still working his way back from that injury. I don't think he's going to be the Allen Lazard we saw at the end of last year until he gets ramped up a little bit. I think you're seeing so much more of a different offense for Green Bay. And coming into Tampa Bay, where it's going to be crazy, it's going to be loud, the first home game, I still think the Bucs have every advantage going into the game.
Yep.
The odds makers had the Bucs only as like a 1.5 point favorite.
Pound them.
I think I'm taking that one all day.
What's the over-under? What's the total number?
Ooh,
let me check that.
I have to check that one.
Look, here's the thing. Those two running backs are going to match up against Devin White and Levante David. I mean, you kind of do the X's and O's. Those two linebackers are going to be responsible for covering them in the flat, getting out, and also Winfield playing in the slot. Yeah, listen, I'm okay with that. Because here's the thing. That offensive line of Green Bay is awful. It's not good. And Bakhtiari is not playing this week. That offensive line is a sieve. And this front seven for the Buccaneers is one of the best in the game. One of the fastest, quickest, most athletic. They pressure better than almost anybody in the game. They lead the league in sacks. Look, I mean, match it up. I mean, people will say, "Oh, it's Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. Brady should have been." I mean, it's not what it's about. Like, this is, I think, of all the matchups there's ever. You put this at the end of the season when Rodgers has had chemistry time with these receivers, and the same with Brady. Okay, these two quarterbacks, you could put them on the top of the marquee, but I'll put them down about 8 or 9 as far as importance on this game. I don't think. I mean, you know what I'm saying. Obviously, these are two of the greatest to ever play, but I don't think they're going to impact the game as much as they would normally.
I could see a game where the two combine for, let's say, under 450 yards passing.
I would too.
I could see.
I haven't seen the prop bets yet, but I'm going to lean heavy to the unders.
I did check the over under. It's 41.5.
Oh, that's low.
That's low.
That's really low. They finally caught on. It's week 3 now, so
catching on
all this money I made on the unders is not going to pay off.
Not going to pay off. I can't. Yeah. I don't know I don't know how good I feel about that.
Can you think about that? Brady versus Rodgers, total points 41. Yeah, the odds
numbers
makers
that these two guys put up last year.
Yeah, now let's see if the prop bets reflect that. I don't know if they do, so we'll do a lot of that on tomorrow's show. Where Friday's gambling day. So,
and the other thing too to keep in mind is you talk about the Packers' offensive line.
Yeah,
the Buccaneers' offensive line ain't exactly looking too great at the moment either because Donovan Smith did not practice yesterday. So, Robert Hainsey all of a sudden is on the injury report with a calf injury. I don't know where that came from, but if there's anything that gives me confidence about the offensive line to where it might not be an issue, I saw them last week against New Orleans.
Yeah,
I saw them play in that atmosphere with Davenport and Cameron Jordan and Onyemata and
front seven.
Shai Tuttle.
Yeah,
the great name.
Yeah,
but I saw them play against those guys and hold their own and only give up 1 sack. So I know Green Bay's got a really good defense, but I'm not as concerned there. But obviously, I might think a little differently depending on what Robert Hainsey, if this is anything to worry about as we get into the week. I mean, they have to report everything on the injury thing. But it's a long list.
They are so dangerously thin at the interior. I'm shocked that they haven't made a move. But again, who's out there? Who's out there?
Nothing there.
Yeah,
really.
There's really nobody out there. If they're going to make a move, it's going to have to be a trade. And trades are hard to do in season. So you just better pray to God that interior line stays healthy. Yeah, if Hainsey goes down, I mean, watch out.
I mean, could you imagine though the Bucs come out of here though 3-0 somehow? With all the injuries they have and all the uncertainty in the new parts. Imagine if they come out of this 3-0, which because I think they're going to. But
I got to lean
about a stamp right there.
I got to lean to the Bucs this week. I think, and I think it's a heavy lean because of their defense. So let's listen in on Todd Bowles yesterday. His press conference a little bit more entertaining, a little bit more forthcoming. So we'll listen in and have some comments here with Todd Bowles yesterday as he met the media.
Afternoon.
Hey, made a flurry of moves. Brought in Cole Beasley, Justin School. What did you see out of those guys to bring them in here?
Well, Cole's a viable receiver. Obviously, if people still keep going down, he'll be somebody we can bring up. School started some games in this league, so we got some backup just in case.
I know that we've already kind of talked to you a little bit about this, but now that the suspension has been upheld for Mike Evans, just your thoughts on losing him against one of what's expected to be one of your more difficult opponents this year, Packers.
Well, that hasn't changed since the other day. Sunday's going to come whether he plays or not. We got to get ready to play without him.
Coach, 2 road wins in the NFL. That's a heck of a bargaining chip to have in your pocket right now, isn't it?
No, we're 2-0. You're happy to be 2-0, but it's a long way to go. We still got a lot to build on and get better at, but we're happy with 2-0.
Todd, we saw Tom out there practicing. Did he change rest days, or did he just want to go today?
He usually takes individuals. Some reps he takes and some he does not. So, he's out there every day. That's the biggest thing for us. And he can switch it up when we want to switch it up. But there's some things he's got to get down. Then we put him in there and get him down.
Was that something that you guys decided about him getting Wednesdays off or taking it easier on Wednesdays? Was that something you guys decided before he came back or since he's been here?
Well, he had some off last year. This is not a one-time thing. And again, it's not just him. We got about 6-7 guys that we have days off for, or predicated days off. So, we call them veteran days for ourselves, but they get all their work in. They get their workouts in. They study tape. They watch practice. Some of them even do individual periods. So, and again, it's not just him. And he had days off last year as the same.
With Cole coming in so late, obviously, just probably going to get 3 days of practice. And how much can you expect him to pick up and be able to help you on Sundays?
Well, we'll see right now. He hadn't played in a while, so he's been on the street really. So we got to see what he knows and what kind of shape he's in, and then we'll kind of go from there.
With Mike's suspension and the injury you've had so far, how concerned are you about the receiving depth? That was an area you tried to address before the season.
Well, we have depth. Anytime you lose quite a few guys at one spot, you got to worry a little bit. But we got guys that need to step up and make plays, and we kept them around for a reason, so they just got to go in and perform.
There's been a number of drops, not so much just at the receiver position, but how do you combat that other than just catch the ball?
Really just concentration, catching the football. It's early. We don't have our footing underneath us yet. We got to get better at an array of things on all sides of the ball.
How do you guys put Wells on injured reserve, and Donovan wasn't out there when we watched today? Brandon obviously filled it pretty well. Just want to ask you just how well he did with that, and then your confidence level in him being your starter Sunday if necessary.
Well, I know he'll fight. He's got a lot of fight in him, and he's not going to get pushed around. It's just a matter of fundamentals and technique. That's big when you don't get the reps as a starter coming in. So he's getting some reps this week. We're going to test him and put him against some good guys and make sure he gets all the reps he needs.
With Antoine Winfield, moving a lot into that nickel role, it gives you the chance to have 3 safety-like bodies out on the field together. And you even saw 4 a couple times on Sunday with Keanu Neal stepping in there. But just what do you like about being able to have, 3 safety-type players on the field together?
It gives you flexibility. You can do certain things on certain down and distances, and all 3 can play the nickel, as well as some of our corners. So it'll fluctuate throughout the season. But right now, we feel best putting him up there compared to some of the things that we see. He's one of our best tacklers. He's one of our most instinctive. He's quick. He can read stuff, and he's explosive when he blitzes. So right now, he's been filling in great right there.
Is that something you always kind of envisioned when you got here? I mean, I felt like it was kind of born out of necessity last year when you had so many injuries at the cornerback position. But this year, you start the season off pretty healthy at corner. When did you kind of envision that 3 safety type thing kind of taking hold?
Well, I don't look at it as 3 safeties. I look at him playing nickel. I really do. It's a difficult spot because the nickel has to play corner, safety, and linebacker. So you got to be somewhat physical and durable there. Depending on our personnel, we have different nickels for different situations and different ball games. And right now it suits Antoine.
Let's pause that for a second. We talked about this before the season and the versatility that these guys bring. That's when they signed Logan Ryan, when they signed Keanu Neal and then moved Winfield down, and Mike Edwards, we never really talk about him, but he just makes huge plays. I talk about playmakers all the time on defense, guys that, they make game-changing plays. Edwards is one of those guys, and man, per capita for the snaps that he gets, he's just around the ball. Winfield's the same guy. Logan Ryan's the same guy. Keanu Neal's the same guy. They're those guys, for whatever reasons, those safety guys, the reason they play safety is because they have great instincts and they can make game-changing plays. The more of them on the field, the better. And it's positionless now. I mean, football's positionless, really.
Yeah.
I think, deception maybe the offensive line and maybe defensive line. Yeah, everybody else is kind of interchangeable, and the more versatility you got on defense, the more you can change in the middle of plays and you can adjust in the middle of the game.
Yeah, and I know it sounds like I almost have an agenda against Sean Murphy Bunting because I'm not trying to. I'm just again, the facts are there. 0 snaps in 2 weeks. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of the reasons why you see it now, why they brought in a Logan Ryan, why they brought in a Keanu Neal, why they put Winfield out in the nickel position. It's that versatility. And I think Sean Murphy-Bunting, what's versatile about him?
Yeah.
He's an outside corner. Well, guess what? We already have 2 of those.
Right.
And they're substantially better than Sean Murphy-Bunting. That's just a fact. Other than the playoff run, which appreciate it, Sean. You were great when you needed to. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think he's been anywhere near his potential or what he could be on this team. And in a contract year, he came up to camp and Jamel Dean outplayed him. It's just that simple.
I think it just shows how we've upgraded the talent.
Yeah,
and he's going to play. There's going to be injuries. And he's going to get a lot of
it'll get in
play
there,
time.
but I think it's smart by Todd Bowles and the defensive staff to understand, because all it takes is one weak link to throw the whole thing off.
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to have an agenda against him. He's just always been that weak link. And now you have guys that can move around all over the field, the experience. It helps so much. So I think that I think that was probably a big emphasis during the offseason for Bowles.
No doubt. And when this team is healthy, this defense is healthy like it is right now, it just shows you, John Murphy-Bunting is not a terrible player. He's not.
He's not.
He's not. And he's going to play a lot at some point this year.
He was honestly miscast in the past defenses. He had to play that slot role just because he was the natural third corner. I don't think that was ever his calling. He's an outside corner. He's just not as good as the 2 we have.
That's a good point. And they've evolved this defense into what it is today. And it's something that I think Aaron Rodgers is not used to seeing. And there are stats out there. Watching NFL Live, they did a stat on his passer rating when blitzed by defensive backs, especially in the Bucs do a great job of that. And it's something that he is vulnerable to. They have a stat for everything now.
I know.
It's like, woo.
I mean, have you ever gone deep into like the Pro Football Focus stuff?
Oh my God. It gets a little crazy.
My brain just
it gets a
can't
little
function.
Crazy. A little crazy. All right, let's continue with Bowles.
You're putting fires out every day, which
Ira.
You may not have had to do
Ira
last
Kaufman.
year. So are you spending as much hands-on time with the defense? And in that regard, how much credit should we give some of your defensive assistants?
They deserve tons of credit. I'm in there and I'm still hands-on, but they deserve tons of credit. All those guys put together a lot of the game plan. They do a lot of the individual work and make sure everybody's on the same page, but I'm in there just the same. The fires, I've had plenty of experience in New York, so it's not really fires for me. So, I'm okay. I'm okay dealing with the day-to-day.
Todd, is this secondary playing so well only through 2 weeks? Understood. That you can't even use your renowned sarcasm on these guys, or are you finding stuff to pick up?
They're making great plays. Let's say that there is sarcasm everywhere, so you can always get better, and every one of them can get better at certain things, and we just got to keep building. We're growing towards that. We are by no means there.
With the shortage that you have a wide receiver and the struggles you've seen a little bit with the red zone, is Kyle Rudolph a guy that you need to utilize a little bit more with the his success against Green Bay and facing them a lot of times in his career?
Who?
I don't think the tight end issue is the reason we're having red zone issues. We just got to put it together and get in sync and score, and we will. We will. But Kyle's a good player. Again, the other two play because they play special teams as well. Kyle's going to help us this year. I can't tell you when, but I know he's going to help us.
The NFL sent a letter to Bruce Arians warning him about his participation in the game on Sunday. I know that you guys said that the Saints didn't provide a booth for him and for Jason. Going forward, is there anything that can be done to kind of prevent that from happening? Is he going to be upstairs from now on? Just your response to that.
Like I said, he's normally upstairs. Okay, this was the one time he was downstairs, and usually we handle our sideline pretty good. Everybody got irate. We got to have better composure on the sideline as players and coaches.
Todd, some of your older guys 2 weeks into the season are dinged up. A couple are on injured reserve. Are you concerned with how just this older roster will hold up over the course of a 17-game season? Because you do have a veteran roster.
I wouldn't say all veterans are hurt. There's some young guys that are hurt too. We had Zion came in and got hurt, and he's a rookie. I don't think it's about age. And some of them are just freak injuries, and some of them are at the start of the season when you're not as physical in training camp with the number of padded practices and you don't play in a bunch of preseason games. These first 3 or 4 games are really your full-time preseason games. When you only play a quarter or 2 series or anything like that, you don't get the bumps and bruises that you get when you play 4 quarters on a week-to-week basis. I think we're learning how to become a grind-out football team while we get used to our bruises.
Pause it there. I do see this becoming a narrative about this older team. I tend to side with Bowles on this one. There are a lot of older players. Tom Brady's a perfect example that take care of their bodies better than younger players. So are older players more susceptible to injury? Yes, they are. I mean, that's just part of it. They've had more injuries already in their career. But what you're ignoring here is the benefits of a veteran team, which we could list a gazillion ways. Veteran teams win football games. So if there's some of them are going to be injured and you have good depth at these positions, that's football. I think we're completely ignoring the advantage of having veteran players. Look at the plays that they're making.
And honestly, though, like, what are the injuries that are the most serious? Akeem Hicks, he's injured. Water's wet. It's just the way it's been the last 2 or 3 years for him. That's just what happens.
They have good depth at the position.
Yeah, Chris Godwin was a freak injury. And then the other one is
Chris Godwin would play too soon.
Well, I'm kind of factoring in the I'm factoring the ACL a little bit.
Yeah.
Freak injury. Yeah. And then what was the other one? I lost it here.
Well, Julio
is the one. There we go. Julio, who I think
Julio's an older guy.
This is going to be a week-to-week thing with Julio. Yep. It's just the way it is. So I look at those injuries.
But they have depth. They have depth at those positions.
And I saw a lot of people, by the way, speaking to the Akeem Hicks injury. Oh, it's time to bring back Ndamukong Suh. No, it's not.
I mean, if somebody else goes down, okay, let's talk about it.
But again, there's reasons why Ndamukong Suh was not brought back to this team. Yeah. There's reasons why he's still out there. Yeah. Ask those questions.
Yeah, we're not the only team.
We're not the only team. Jason Pierre-Paul is still out there too. Looks like he's going to get signed, but there's been nothing on the Suh front. I don't think he's coming back here. They're going to give, and like we said, Nacho did a great job when he was in there, and you got to get Logan Hall snaps.
You got depth there. If you bring in a veteran guy that's oft injured, okay, if he stays healthy, it's a huge plus.
That's what I'm saying. Don't bring in a 36-year-old who's liable to get injured right away too, because he hasn't had a full camp or anything.
Right. In terms of Ndamukong Suh. Yeah. So, I'm not too worried about that, but I see this narrative developing, and the Bruce Arians thing. Look, is he going to be down there every week? No, he's not. Is it great that he's there chirping at the refs? Probably not. Was it part of the reason that the melee started? No. Lattimore was the reason. Lattimore's always the reason. You can't take the bait. That's all there is to it. Evans knows that. Everybody knows that. Brady took the bait. Brady deserves blame here as well. Brady deserves blame here. He's the one who went up and started getting in the face of Lattimore. If Brady walks away when Lattimore's chirping, none of this happens. Right?
Yeah.
So, everybody wants to rag on Mike Evans. Brady said that. Brady said that about himself on his podcast, his well-advertised and well-controlled podcast. That this is, that was his problem. That was his fault. So it wasn't just him. All right. Before we hit the break, James Petracca's coming up from Fox Sports, talk some NFL football. A couple things on the Rays. It was reported that Randy Arozarena and Yandy Diaz got into a physical fight after the game on Monday. That's the reason they did not play on Tuesday. The organization, the players yesterday, when asked about it, basically said there was no fisticuffs. That didn't happen. As much as I'd like to, pee on the report of the other station, Zach and T-Kraz who reported it, I tend to believe what they said and their reporting on this. Obviously, the Rays aren't going to come out and say there was a a knockdown, drag out fight. But if they got into a shouting match, I don't think they would have been benched on Tuesday. Do you?
No, it was definitely something more serious. And the fact that Yandy wasn't in this lineup again last night.
Yeah.
I know Kevin said he has a sore shoulder, okay.
Yeah.
But
and maybe a black eye.
Yeah. But a lot of people were like going after the reporting over there. And I'm just like, listen, those guys are not going to just put that out there unless they were told directly by somebody deep in the know.
Come on. It's the first time they've broken a story in 20 years.
Again, your words, not mine. So that's how I feel.
I'm just messing with you guys. They give me crap for breaking stories all the time and pee on my stories all the freaking time, which are right and correct. Yes, I broke the Brady story. Whatever. We don't need to get into that, but I'm giving you guys credit. You broke a story, and I believe you over what the organization said.
The Twitter mob. because the Twitter mob was loud yesterday. But anyway, I guess this is so uncharacteristic. It's like I don't really know how to react to it. I mean, we think of this Rays clubhouse as
very shocking,
sunshine and rainbows, and everybody loves each other, and everybody's kind of the same background and everything. I mean, the whole all Latino lineup, and these are obviously two guys that fit that mold, and two leaders of this team. I mean, to fight in a parking lot,
it's not good. And that's and you can sit there and say everybody's good and we hashed it out and blah blah blah. No, you can forget it, you can forgive it, but it's still there.
And the optics stink because the team's playing like the way they're playing.
This just in. I mean, is it
if this was two Yankee players doing this? What's the equivalent to Yandy and a Rosarena on the Yankees? Imagine them
Stanton and Judge.
Well, okay, I don't know.
Well, no,
I guess so.
Two of our biggest stars.
I guess so. If you equate it, that is what it is. It just didn't sound right, but
it is.
But yeah, that's the equivalent.
Two leaders of the team.
Imagine if this was like the Yankees, how much play?
Oh my God, it'd be unbelievable. This is Jeter and A-Rod.
Yeah, almost. You know? So I mean, that's why I don't really downplay what Kevin Cash says more than anything. I know he's just trying to put that fire out.
Of course he is. Of course he is. But this is not a nothing burger. This is something.
No.
And the team has nosedived. You know, when's the last time we saw them lay down like this against a good team?
It's been a long time.
Been a long time. Well, since 2017, since they've been swept at home. I think 2017. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Look. It doesn't happen. And this team fights when they're in the playoff push. You can't look at the results, bro. They went 25 innings without scoring a run after the fight.
Yeah.
When's the last time that's happened? And plus, you know, if Yandy's got this lineup's thin already. You take Yandy out of it, this is what you get. So this is a huge story. It's a humongous story. And now you got Toronto coming in, who's this is one of the hottest teams in baseball.
Yeah.
And they're crushing the ball. Yeah. You're going to have to score runs. Even a well-pitched game against Toronto means you're going to give up 3 or 4. You go out there and pitch, you're going to give up 8 or 9, and there ain't no way you're scoring 8 or 9. Not in this lineup.
Yeah.
So this team is in this. Listen, are they going to sneak into the playoffs? Yeah, probably. The Orioles are 4 games behind them in the loss column.
The Rays would have to be. I mean, the Rays aren't playing well right now, but they would have to seriously collapse. Like
they've scored 2 runs in 3 games.
I mean, but then you look at the schedule to end the season. It's Toronto, Cleveland, Houston, and Boston.
Yeah.
So you're going to play 3 playoff teams in back-to-back series to end it right here.
And on the road for the last 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might be out of the playoffs. And even that way, what are they going to do when they get in the playoffs? Nothing.
The Astros coasted through this series.
Yes.
Coasted through this
series.
There
was, yesterday, Brady hits a home run. And they get the lead, and it lasted about 5 minutes. You know, Kyle Tucker, by the way, that shot would have splashed down in the freaking into the Rays.
Yeah,
tank.
I thought you were more happy that he hit a home run against our Rays.
I was. I like Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, but you tweeted and everything. You're like, Kyle Tucker, Tampa
friend of the program. Yeah, you know, listen, the Rays ain't going anywhere.
Against my Rays.
I'm sorry, your Rays ain't going anywhere this year.
Okay.
He's just giving them a quicker death.
I'm trying to keep my fan cap on today.
Yeah,
they're going to win the World Series. So they're. But the
one in Williamsport. Which one are we talking about here? No, they're not.
Fan cap says that
they are not going to win a series.
The show me right
if they get into the playoffs.
The show me that analyzes says 1 playoff win against Toronto. 1.
No, they're not going to play Toronto because they're going to finish. They're going to barely hang on and squeak into the playoffs and play the Guardians and probably get swept. So this is something. It's a big freaking deal. All right, we got to take a quick break because we have not taken a break yet. Standing by is our good friend James Pataka from Fox Sports. Quick break. We are brought to you by Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com, Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency, and by the Jeeves Law Group, jeeveslawgroup.com. Quick break. James Pataka, Fox Sports on deck. Stay with us. Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? Chances are they didn't, and you got shorted maybe thousands of dollars. Call the Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. It's a free call, so why not find out if you have a case? Insurance companies have been running this scam for a while, and most folks don't know if they've been shorted. Trust me. Scott G's is a different kind of attorney, the kind insurance companies hate to go up against. He could recover thousands of dollars, so why not call 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com. This is how to reach them. Tampa Bay's #1 private investigation agency. All right, let's bring in our good friend James Pataka from NFL Fox Sports, and his crew was out covering Atlanta and Seattle last week. Good morning, James. How are you? I thought we were going to put something up in the background there on your stream.
Yeah, I know. I'm working on it. I'm waiting a couple more games to get some more credentials so I can put them up behind me.
Because you only have 10,000 in your box there. Listen, go to Pinterest. It's very easy, right? It's Nick's favorite website, by the way, Pinterest. And they'll show you how to do like a little cork board, and you just take these push pins and you just put them up. It'll be all the memories will come flowing back from all these games you covered. It'll be so much fun. It'll look a hell of a lot better. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thanks.
So
actually,
crazy
just a quick thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
it's a crazy start to this NFL season. I mean, it's been amazing.
Yeah, it really has. A lot of exciting games, crazy week one, all the crazy finishes, and then this week, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far.
And you were gonna say
no, I was just gonna say we're actually Atlanta, Seattle is this week upcoming.
Atlanta, Seattle's this week. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is where were you week one?
Week one, we were at the Commanders the first ever Commanders game, Jacksonville and Washington.
How about Jacksonville? I mean, having a Super Bowl coach, other than and not Urban Meyer, evidently makes them a much better team.
Yeah, but it's funny because that game in Washington, I didn't see it. I just after the game, I was like, "This Jacksonville team, they'll be better." But I just, the NFL is so week to week.
I know, isn't it?
It's crazy, but yeah. So they looked obviously a lot better last week than they did against Washington.
And Carson Wentz, dare we say that he could be the real deal this year? That he's in a situation that he likes.
Yeah, I think so. And they, they're talking to the Washington coaches and people in the organization, we very positive about him, on and off the field. And so, yeah, and he looked good that first game. He made some big plays at the end. He did have one bad turnover, but he came back and let him back. And so there's some excitement in Washington, although they took a step back against Detroit too. So,
yeah. Well, Atlanta, I'm sure you guys have been talking a lot about them this week in your production meetings. An interesting group. They came back and almost won that game against the Rams. They were down 28-3.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting score.
Yeah.
And they came back and almost won that football game. And then in week one, they gave the Saints all they could handle. Or the Falcons
probably should have won that game.
Yeah, are they better than we think?
I think so. We had them a couple times last year, and I was really impressed with Arthur Smith and what they were trying to build, and offensively, and using Cordero Patterson as a running back, and some of the things they were doing with Kyle Pitts. So, the quarterback Mariota, how much they can get out of him, I don't know, but we thought they were looking where they were. Thought they were building something that getting on the right track moving forward.
What did Kyle Pitts get? Like three targets last week?
I think he got 3. He's got 4 total targets on the season. 4.
That should probably change this week, huh?
Yeah. Although, maybe teams are really, he's probably their biggest weapon outside of Patterson. So, maybe that opens things up for some of the other guys.
Well, if I'm Arthur Smith, you got to call 4 or 5 predetermined screens a game for Kyle Pitts and get the ball.
It's football, JP.
Yeah,
it's not fantasy football. That's what he said. It's not fantasy football.
Okay. I think 1 target is probably all he needs. Then you're right. You don't want to feed a guy that's that talented. I mean, look at who was it? Stephon Diggs. I'm sure that he was a marked man, right? What did he get? 14 targets.
Yeah.
Hold on. Sorry about that. Had a little. Somebody's calling into the show. It happens all the time. Talk a little bit about what you see in this matchup, though, this week with Atlanta and Seattle.
So, 2 teams, I think, Seattle, I know they that was a big win for them. And I think they're probably very emotional for Pete Carroll, with Russell coming back and everything. But they're, Pete doesn't like to use the word rebuilding, but that's kind of what they're doing in Seattle. Geno Smith is, I think he's good, but he's obviously not their long-term answer at quarterback. But they're building their defense, and they kind of have a feeling that, this is kind of maybe where they were in 2010, 2011, Pete's first years there, where, people didn't know who Richard Sherman was. People didn't know who Cam Chancellor, they didn't, but this is, they think they might have some of those guys. And they're building towards that, maybe a year, 2 years, they'll be, they feel they can get back on top again.
James Pataka, Fox Sports, joining us here, NFL Talk. You obviously have been watching the Bucs as well. You did all their preseason games. I'm sure you're not shocked by the way this team has come out and been dominating defensively, and that's going to be their calling card early on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we, thought that going into the season that this could be, the defense was probably going to be better. They were, good the last 2 years, even great, but they were probably even better than that this year. And, Yeah, they've certainly shown that early. Offensively, I don't know if struggle is the right word, but they're, with the changes in the offensive line and some, their injuries receivers, they're going to be a little bit down maybe from what they can be. But I think, the defense is going to carry them. And we saw that last week.
James Pataka joining us, NFL Fox Sports. Your thoughts on this, how Brady is playing so far this year. I know a lot of people, expected more in terms of the numbers. I thought the offense would probably start slow. What's your take on what you see from Brady?
Yeah, I think, he's going to be fine. I do think, we talked about this a little bit in the preseason, is that there's probably going to be a little bit more emphasis on the running game this year than, in past years. I think with Todd Bowles being more of a defensive-minded coach than, Arians more wide open, I think they might and maybe rely on their defense a little bit more. So Brady's numbers might drop just because of that. But I think with, the injuries receivers, but, he's still playing well. I mean, I don't see any, there's no any signs for concern or anything like that. But, I think the offense, once they, they'll probably get going a little bit more, and we'll see some bigger numbers moving forward.
Any other trends in the NFL that you're seeing this year that you guys are talking about in your production meetings at Fox?
It's just kind of the same. Just seeing, teams. You don't really know who teams are sometimes until week 3 or 4 games in. So they're just kind of seeing how things, because there's new players and new coaches at each position, different teams. So it's just kind of the early season, just kind of, get through and see where teams go.
I got to ask about this since you got Seattle this week. What are production meetings like with Pete Carroll? That dude is so hype. I mean, he has zero punctuation in any sentence. I mean, he just runs on like you ask him one question, does he just go on for 30 minutes and go to the bathroom, go get some coffee, come back, still talking?
Yeah, he's great. No, he's great. He's he does it, the enthusiasm, and he talks. And last year we had them win the games last year, and Chris and I were down the field before the game, and we spent about 15-20 minutes with him, talking on the field, and he just, talking about his philosophy and running game and, different things. And he's great. I mean, he's genuine too. I mean, that's him. It's not an act, you see him on TV in front of the cameras, you see him privately one-on-one, that's who he is. And I'm a big fan of Pete.
I love him too. And it'll be interesting to see how he does without Russell. I mean, we kind of, they've been attached at the hip for a long time, but that defense can win, and that system that he has can win and keep you in games. And I think we're seeing that. It's not the most talented team, but he gets the best out of them. All right, my friend, good stuff as always. Appreciate it. Enjoy the weekend in Atlanta.
Oh, hey, can I? You have one quick story. I was with in light of the situation last week, the Bucs game with New Orleans, with Arians on the sideline and everything.
Yeah.
So we were in Indy for the Bucs preseason game, and the officials happened to be staying at the same hotel. And over the years, I've gotten to know some of the officials. We see them at stadiums and so forth. One of the guys I know pretty well, he was in the lobby, and we were talking, and I asked him, I said, so, hey, you're going to miss Arians yelling at you on the sideline? Now he's retired this year. And he kind of laughed. He said, nah, he's a lot of fun. He said, a few years ago, one of his first years of coaching, he was all over me. Boom, this, and finally I just turned to him and I just looked at him and I pointed at him. I said, that's effing bullshit. And Bruce looked and he's like, I like you. And he said, we've never had a problem since then. He gets on me, I get on him. And he said, so it's a lot of that stuff that goes on. They understand. It's kind of more fun than anything. But
they're working them. It's all human nature. Officials can sit there and say that they're not affected by that. But when coaches are in there, you're saying this is going on, this is going on, they have to look at. They're going to look at it more. And the fans affect officials as well. Absolutely, they're humans. I mean, if you're a coach and you're not working the officials, you're not doing your job, in my opinion. It's a fine line, obviously. You don't want to get, and I don't think anything Arians did caused the other day. So, I think it's part of the game. All right, my friend, great story. Appreciate that one. We'll catch up with you next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, JP.
James Pataka, Fox Sports. All right, we'll take a quick break and we'll come back on the other side, and we've got some more sound for you. The Lightning had media day yesterday, so we want to get into a little bit of that. Steven Stamkos says, you know what? We're pissed. We're pissed we lost. They have a rallying cry. The window is not closing here, which is something that the national media is talking about. So we'll come back and talk some lightning here on the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations, Emerging INV, and the Jeeves Law Group.com. Stay with us. JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent, Italiano Insurance, to review and 10:20 Tampa.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations and the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. The Lightning had their media day yesterday, and I saw a lot of great pictures from Lightning Vision. They're doing all their preseason photo shoots and everything. It's kind of getting you in the mood for some great Lightning hockey and another great season about to hit Amalie Arena. We're going to do our first Lightning Vision rehearsal next Tuesday, coming up on Tuesday. And then we're 19 days from opening night. So yeah, it's coming. I guess there's this national narrative out there. I guess everybody's tired of the Lightning going to the finals. I guess they're just, so it's like, their window's closing. With a little closer examination, I think what happened in the offseason, the window is open as wide as it's ever been. I mean, this team is still loaded with the core. The core is getting a little bit older, but Stamkos would be probably the only one I'd be worried about aging out of greatness, and he just put together his best career season. So the other guys, Kucherov, Vasilevsky, had been getting a little bit longer in the tooth, but, as we know, defensemen can play and be very effective well into their late 30s. So I would argue that, Braden Point's coming into his prime. Sergachev, you hope, will step up. So I don't see that at all. I don't know where this narrative is coming from, other than people are just tired of talking about the Lightning. So here's Steven Stamkos, Brisebois, and Maroon answering that question about the window closing.
I still think that we're a team that is going to be competing for the Stanley Cup at the end of the season. So that's the mindset that we still have. Sure, there's a lot of factors that are probably going against us in terms of losing some really good players, and people are going to talk about the core is getting a little older and things like that. But I still think the window's open. So. Listen, it's not going to be given to us, that's for sure. We're going to have to go out and have a really good season, and guys are going to have to step up. And the goal is always to just get in the playoffs, and then that's when we can rely on the experience that we've had, especially the past 3 years.
I think I'm thrilled because we're starting the season, and I look at our potential roster, and it has the makings of a really good team, and that's what you want going into the season. I think we have the makings of being a really competitive team. And what went into the decisions, the bigger decisions in the offseason, they were mostly driven by trying to make sure we stay competitive for as long as possible, try to set ourselves up to be competitive this year, but next year and for the foreseeable future. So that was probably the driving vision behind a lot of these decisions, was making sure that we extended that window as much as possible.
We added some depth on the back end and certainly on the offensive side. So team is shaping up well. So obviously we're all excited to get going here.
Yeah, I don't see that as being a factor at all. It just I think that's just more national.
Well, and Steven Stamkos said it there. The goal is just to get in the playoffs, and the experience takes over. And that's the difference. And that's what's aided this team to getting to 3 Stanley Cups in a row and winning 2 in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just getting in. I think that's where the national media narrative is coming. They're thinking, okay, well, Toronto's going to win the Atlantic, and Florida's going to be there, and Ottawa's much better, and Detroit's much better, and
Good.
Boston's going to be there. And
Keep talking.
Oh, we forgot about Tampa. Well, they're a little long in the tooth, and we don't like Tampa anyway. So, I mean,
Good.
Once
I
they
love
get in
it.
the playoffs, I think it's going to be a different story, because we know the Lightning you can go ahead and write them in right now. I don't care.
I think so.
Yeah, and Brisebois mentioned it. It's about being competitive in the future, and it seems so long ago that it happened, but the 8-year deals given out to Chernak and Sergachev are proof of that.
Cirelli, yep.
In Cirelli,
Yeah.
because as the core gets older, that's the next wave. That's right there in their mid-20s. That hasn't even really hit their primes yet.
Right.
And now they have 8-year deals. So
yeah, I think you better take a closer look, but I love the fact that they're talking
check
that
your
way.
sheet.
Better check your sheet. Better check your sheet. Yeah, because I like this Lightning team a lot, and it's going to be new. They got to replace McDonough. They got to replace Palat. But I think they have answers for those. And it's time for Sergachev to step up. Nemestikov can be an interesting piece. So hey, let's go. Let's drop the puck. Let's see how long in the tooth they are. I love it. I love it. All right, another quick break. When we come back, it's the Gator Report brought to you by Jeeves Law Group. As Scott Carter will join us from FloridaGators.com. The Gators got a big one coming up with Tennessee. Will Anthony Richardson be able to throw a touchdown pass, or will he be making more tackles? We will answer those questions when we come back. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately, or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida. Military veterans, are you struggling with alcoholism or substance abuse? Is it taking a toll on your relationships and your work life? Are you having trouble focusing, constantly anxious? Well, you may not be surprised to know that your fellow military vets have your six. Heroes Mile is a new concept in rehabilitation clinics, veterans helping veterans. At Heroes Mile, we staff our rehab center with fellow veterans who can understand what you're going through. Our mission is to help you heal from issues that only your fellow veterans can truly understand. Located just outside of DeLand, we offer a full range of inpatient and outpatient programs dealing with substance abuse, post-traumatic stress, and military sexual trauma. We choose to serve veterans because we know how complex these issues are. You could choose to fight the battle alone or win the war together. We are the community care provider with the VA and also accept most major insurance. At Heroes Mile Rehabilitation Center, we have your six. Go to heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2. That's heroesmile.com or call 888-VET-NOW-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Our 11 o'clock hour is jam-packed. We're going to start with Scott Carter, our Gators report brought to you by JeevesLawGroup.com, JeevesLawGroup.com. Give me over there. Scott Carter joins us live from Gainesville for a big week. Boy, this has been a gauntlet of a schedule. You know, you looked at the schedule, Scotty, you thought USF would be the breather, and it was anything but, right? Let's rewind a little bit to that crazy night in the swamp on Saturday night. How you doing, partner?
Hey, doing well, guys. Yeah, they escaped that one, JP. I didn't see USF coming in here and rushing for 286 yards, and not for a bad snap or a bad hold at the end. That thing looked like it might be headed for overtime. But you're going to have a game like that once in a while. That's the way the Gators are looking at it, at least. And now they got to really get back on track if they're going to go up to Knoxville and win this one. They've dominated this series, as we all know, of late. But this got a different vibe to it this year, JP.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You look at this, the spread on this game is 10.5 points. The Gators are 10.5 point underdogs to a team that they've dominated historically. But it's, the NFL is a week-to-week league. College football is a year-to-year league now, and maybe trending more towards week-to-week. And this is just a little bit of surprise. But Tennessee's 3-0. They're ranked 11th in the nation, and they're playing good football. They just beat the living crap out of Akron. It is what it is. But that's what we expected the Gators to do to USF, and it did not happen. And I think the biggest question right now is obviously what's going on with Anthony Richardson. I know they dropped the AR-15. But I didn't know it was because he can't throw. So what's going on?
Well, Anthony's having what we like to call growing pains, right? I mean, young guy, obviously enormously talented, but it's pretty obvious. You don't have to be a coach or a X and O expert to see that he's struggling. He's struggling with his confidence. He's struggling with his execution. And, it really started against Kentucky. A lot of credit to Mark Stoops with that defensive game plan. And you could see USF doing a lot of the same stuff that Kentucky did. And now it's up to, Billy Napier and his staff to, find out, okay, how can we get Anthony back on track when we know now teams are going to defend him this way? And I think that's what you're going through. And with Anthony, I mean, he's talked about it openly this week. I mean, he lost some confidence. He's been talking to his high school coach, his mom. There's a lot of pressure on the guy. He's a Gainesville guy playing quarterback for the Gators. And now he's going on the road to make his first SEC road start. So all eyes are going to be on him because you look at this matchup against Tennessee, and I think right now the biggest advantage Tennessee has is their quarterback, Hendon Hooker. He's playing unbelievable. I mean, the guy's got 37 touchdowns and 3 interceptions since he came to Tennessee. I mean, that's getting it done. Anthony's got no touchdowns and 4 interceptions. We know that he's a lot better than that. So to me, if he gets back on track Saturday and they find out some ways for him to execute the offense and regain some confidence, I think it's a ball game. If not, it could be a long day for the Gators.
Yeah, you know what I see, and I think this is going to test Billy Napier right now, is he's going to have to simplify the offense for Anthony Richardson in terms of making it a little bit less read heavy and more predetermined reads because he's got a great arm and he can run the football. I just think that would probably be a simplification of the offense and let him grow into being a more well-rounded passer, but and just take advantage of his incredible ability to run the football. And you also got 2 really good backs in Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne, and an offensive line that is suddenly probably an advantage and a positive for the Gators. So I don't think there's no hope here. I think there's a way that Florida and their defense is not bad. So is that the recipe you think to win this week in Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head right there, JP. They've got an experienced offensive line that's playing really well. And they've got not only 2 backs, they have 3 with Naquan Wright in that mix too.
That's right, yeah.
And so they're going to go – you're going to see them. I think the identity of this team shifting from these first 3 games is going to be a heavy run-oriented team with Anthony playing a part in that. And that's only going to help him find some room in the passing game because once they start establishing the run, well, guess what? The defenses have to adjust, and you can adjust back. So it's just we're seeing it kind of unfold here where I think we all kind of got fooled, me included, that first game against Utah. I thought, man, Anthony, he's going to just dominate games this year, do what he wants to. Well, guess what? Mark Stoops is too good of a coach to let that happen. And now everybody's got the blueprint to kind of stop them. So, but, yeah, I think you're going to see heavy run against Tennessee. And if they can run the ball the way they have been, that's going to keep them in the game right there.
Defensively, things looked a lot different without Ventrell Miller in there as they did last year without him. And they were very leaky in the running game against USF. First of all, I mean, what did you see that was different without him out there? And what is his status, do you think, for this week against Tennessee?
I mean, right now it's really a 50-50. I know they're hoping he can play, but I think it's going to be one of those true game time decisions. If Ventrell's still hobbled, wearing a boot, he's getting some work and rehab. So we'll see on Saturday about it, whether or not he plays or not. With him, it's a huge boost. To me, it's your 6-year senior, the quarterback in the defense. The guy's a communicator. He's the glue back there. And without him, you guys saw it against USF. I mean, they were able to gash really the middle of the field, especially in the first half. And you got guys like Scooby Williams and Shamar James, young guys, talented guys. I think they're going to be good players for the Gators. But again, they just don't have that experience. They haven't seen all the stuff that Ventrell has. And you've got to have that middle guy, that middle linebacker in that gap to slow those guys down before they get to the secondary. And there was a lot of running plays against USF where after they got past the line of scrimmage, they didn't slow down for another 8-9 yards. And that's going to cost you a lot of games.
Scott Carter joining us here. It's our Gator Report brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. I mean, we got to talk about the history of this rivalry. The Gators have won 16 of the last 17. They've won 5 straight. And now, it looks like this is tipping hard to Tennessee. as well as they're playing under Josh Heupel and his up-tempo offense. 107,000 crazy hillbillies going to be going nuts. If this thing turns it's not like Tennessee's letting off the gas pedal, right? And the Gators have to be wary of that. There's a lot of pent-up frustration from these volunteer fans over 20 years of getting their ass kicked.
Yeah, we've seen this before in this rivalry. It's like, okay, this is Tennessee's year. And only in 2016 did it actually happen. And you got to go back to that game. Florida was really rolling 21-3 at halftime. And then the wheels fell off, and Tennessee did win 38-28. That's their only victory in the last 17 meetings, guys. So, guys like me and you, JP, we remember this rivalry when it was. Nick's probably a little too young. I mean, it was college football's premier rivalry, at least one of the top 2 or 3 in the 90s. And it's become really one-sided, and there's no other game on Tennessee's schedule. I don't think that they would love to win as much as beating Florida. And they just haven't been able to do that. And they've seemed to be heading in the right direction. And it all starts with the guy I mentioned before, Hendon Hooker. He's probably their best quarterback they've had in a while there with what he's doing offensively. And Josh Heupel, they set a school record for points last year. So he made an impact right away with his offense. The guy knows offensive football. The defense is going to have to play a good game on Saturday. I think there's going to be some bending. They just hope they don't break too much and see where it ends up, But it's going to be an old school Florida Tennessee game.
Is there any guys kind of on the periphery for the Gators that have maybe freshmen or redshirt freshmen that may play a larger role as the season goes on? That the coaches are kind of, there's always those guys that are like, hey, this guy's really surprised us. I think he's going to be a really good football player. Any of those guys you could tell us to look out for this week, or maybe?
I think there's one guy who's getting his first start on Saturday at nose guard, Desmond Watson, a guy down from Arnwood High School. He's, most of the attention around Desmond since he got at Florida is how big he is. I mean, he came in 400 and like 60, 70 pounds. He's worked his way down. He's lost some weight. He's changed his diet. And he finally got on the field and made a couple of highlight plays against USF last week. When we're talking about not having Ventrell Miller in there, when you have a guy that big and that agile in the up front, if he can, push off some of those blockers and slow down those running backs, that helps everybody. So I think they like him on defense. He's starting to emerge. And I think, they are what they are on offense right now. It's built around Anthony in the running game, but I do think they need to see something out of more of the receivers. I mean, whether it's Pearsall, Xavier Henderson, Justin Shorter, those guys have to do their part as well, whether that's route running, gaining separation. So, those are two areas, Desmond Watson up front and those receivers, I think, where I'm looking for some improvement.
Yeah, great stuff there, Scott. And how big is Desmond now, you think? What's your guess?
I think he's clocking in they got him listed about 415, 420. He looks every bit of that to me.
He's so big.
He's a big dude, man. But I think he's cut down on his snacking lately. So we'll see if it gets him on the field more.
That's good stuff. All right, Scotty, really appreciate your stuff. Have a good time in Knoxville. It's always a crazy scene. That's one place I have not been. I've gone to most of these big stadiums in the South. I've never been to Neyland Stadium. 107,000 people. I mean, my God, is it? I can't imagine it being louder than Florida Field, but I guess it is.
It's I don't know. It's just a different kind of environment. I don't know if it's as loud, JP, as LSU or Florida, but it certainly gets loud. And there's a great setting there with the river, people out there on the boat.
Yeah.
My advice is if you come up to one, do the first one out on a boat, man.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like fun.
That's got to be the whole population of Knoxville, right?
And more.
I mean,
they come out of the hills, man.
107,000.
They come out of the hills. Yes, they do. Absolutely. It's a beautiful part of the country, the mountains there. If you ever been to Knoxville, it's absolutely gorgeous. And, might be a little nip of fall in the air. Who knows? Might be hotter than hell. I don't know what the weather forecast is, but have a good time up there, Scotty. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. See you.
That's the Gator Report brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group. Talked to Scott Jeeves yesterday, a great big Gator fan, and he's probably a little bit on edge this week because this Tennessee team looks loaded.
Yeah, I have some experience covering a Josh Heupel offense, and I can tell you it is explosive. It is down the field. and it is fast. So,
and they got the guy, the trigger man's doing it right now.
I don't know how much 21 is going to be on the field, to be honest, in this one, because they're going to be going really fast.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's a good way to keep the big boys off the field. All right, we'll have a quick break. When we come back, we will talk to Gary Koch, NBC Golf analyst. He is up at the President's Cup. We'll be calling it this weekend. Cannot wait to chat with him about this event. Lots to get to and also talk some live golf. Stay with us.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to insurance.com.
Hi, my name is Mike Warner, a Navy vet. I've had problems with addictions throughout the many decades. Something saved my life, and that is the Heroes Mile program.
Hi, I'm Bill Lennox, retired Lieutenant General, United States Army. If you have any challenges in alcohol, drug, if you have PTSD, MST, think about Heroes Mile.
Heroes Mile, a recovery center for veterans by veterans. Call 1-888-VET-NOW-2 to learn more or visit heroesmile.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to JP Peterson Show, brought to you by JeevesLawGroup.com and also by BAMMC, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. You can check them out at BAMMC.com. If you're looking for a new primary care physician, looking to lose weight or some testosterone therapy, they are the folks to see. That's BAMMC.com. All right, we want to welcome in from NBC Golf. We'll be calling the President's Cup in just a few hours. We thank you so much for joining us here. Gary Koch joins us. What's up, Gary? How are you?
JP, doing fine. How about you guys?
Oh, fantastic. Love to be where you are right now. Can you describe the scene and what it's like, the weather? I've been watching the pregame on Golf Channel for a few days. It looks fantastic. I can't wait to see it start going. Set the scene for us.
Yeah, well, weather forecast looks good. A little warm this afternoon, and a front's supposed to move through late in the day and cool off the next couple of days. The fan support is incredible. Everything is sold out. They're expecting 40,000 plus fans a day. The build out, corporate build out, is the largest I've ever seen at any golf event I've ever been to. So that's pretty phenomenal. And of course, the golf course itself, Quail Hollow Golf Club, is in immaculate condition and should prove to be a good test for both these teams.
Well, much has been made of the international team being depleted because of the live golf situation. But as you well know, these players are championship caliber players on both sides. How much do you make of that depletion by the international side?
Well, I don't think there's any question that losing Cam Smith, losing Joaquin Neiman, losing Abraham Answer to live golf has hurt the international team. There's no question. I mean, those guys were all ranked in the top 25 in the world. And it leaves the internationals with 8 rookies, which is a record. They've never had that many first-time players. But, sometimes a first-time guy, JP, has no scar tissue.
Yep.
The internationals record in this event is not good. They've only won once in the first, 13 attempts. So, having new young guys, could be a very good thing. They're very excited. And talking to Trevor Immelman this week, the international captain, he said he's never seen such enthusiasm from a team, which is great. But the bottom line is, what it comes down to is, can you perform when you have to? And we'll find that out soon enough.
Hey, can we talk a little bit about Tom Kim? 20 years old. He won the Wyndham up there after a quad bogey and then won by 5 shots. This kid is an interesting story. You've seen a lot of him. Tell me a little bit about him.
You mentioned 20 years old. Really didn't have any status on the Korn Ferry Tour or the PGA Tour at the start of the year. Got into a few events, got into the U.S. Open based on his performance on the Asian Tour. Played well enough at the U.S. Open to gain some temporary status on the PGA Tour. Got him in a few starts, finished third in Scotland, and then sure enough won, as you mentioned, at the Wyndham Championship in Greensboro, North Carolina. Really a character, funny, speaks perfect English. In fact, it was hilarious. Jeff Ogilvy, one of the assistant captains for the international team, was interviewed the other day and asked about Tom Kim. He goes, "Tom's English is better than mine." You can understand him a lot better than you can me with my Australian accent. So, but apparently he's a real fire plug in the team room for the internationals. Word is he's a jokester, full of energy, and I'm sure Trevor Immelman is relying on him to perform well for his team, and it'll be fascinating to watch.
Boy, Gary Koch joining us live from the President's Cup. We've got some great matchups, especially going out early. Hideki Matsuyama and Adam Scott against Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. Handicap that one for me right there.
Well, I think it was pretty obvious that, Davis Love had the preference of either deferring or making the first pick. The President's Cup is different than the Ryder Cup. Ryder Cup, the captains just submit a lineup and those matches go out. Well, here at the President's Cup, the captains sit down and one captain puts out a team and the other captain then can answer with whoever he wants. Nice. So Davis Love deferred the first pick. Trevor Immelman immediately came out with Adam Scott and Hideki Matsuyama, and arguably his best team, certainly the most experienced two players on the international team. And, it didn't take Davis but 2 seconds to say Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. So I think that first match is probably both captains consider them to be their two strongest foursomes teams. So remember, the format today is foursomes, which is the alternate shot format, which is quite different than the better ball that they'll play tomorrow, which is best ball, which, most people play when they play team competition, the average players. So a little bit of a gamble to me on Immelman's part, sending what he perceives to be his best team out first. I'm sure he's hoping for a win to then kind of inspire the teams behind that lead group. But if for some reason Cantlay and Schauffele pull out the win and his best team goes down, that could very well circulate down below as well and demoralize some of the international teams. So it'll be fascinating to watch. The first match out to me really will kind of set the tone, I think, for certainly for the first day and could be for the entire matches.
Gary Koch joining us live from the President's Cup. You mentioned the alternate shot format, and I think this is so interesting because, the nuances of the game are obviously so important at this level in team competitions. And you'll have guys that, especially on international teams, they don't speak the same language and they play different golf balls as well. Now, a lot of people might think, well, what's the big deal? Can you explain a little bit about how the nuances of the game are challenged and the inherent challenges of this alternate shot competition?
Well, interestingly, in the past, the internationals have tried or tended to pair similar nationalities together in this format, which, in essence would seem to make some sense from a language standpoint and culture standpoint. But Ernie Els deviated from that formula last time, 2019, down in Melbourne, and used more analytics, statistics, and tried to pair the teams, especially in the foursomes, part of the competition with strengths, a good ball striker with a good putter and so forth and so on. And I think Trevor Immelman has done the same because, there were a couple of pairings that you kind of assumed were going to happen. Taylor Pendrick and Corey Connors, both Canadians. Well, they're not playing together today. They're playing, but not together. The other is, you mentioned the golf balls and, to the average person at home, that probably doesn't mean a whole lot. They probably play with a variety of different golf balls when they play, but these guys are, finely tuned from the standpoint of, knowing exactly how far their irons will carry with the given ball that they use on a week-to-week basis. How much does the ball spin? How quickly will it stop on the greens, especially when they're playing short shots around the greens? And everybody, fortunately, some guys play the same ball and they get paired together, but other times it's two guys are paired together that use two different, entirely different brands of ball and type of ball. So there is an adjustment there. And often, and we saw it here, JP, in the practice rounds, those guys who had a good inkling that they'd be paired together in this format we're practicing with each other's golf balls. I mean, you hit the other guy's ball off the tee. You kind of learn, the characteristics of your partner's ball. If it's a different ball, with an iron shot into the green, how's it going to react? Those type things. So, all these things are covered. I mean, the captains are pretty good about making sure there's no detail that hasn't been addressed. But, it can certainly cause some issues, no doubt.
Gary Koch joining us here, and of course, hovering over all of golf right now is the Live Tour and what's going on with there. Obviously, it has impacted the President's Cup in a dramatic way. I don't think I've talked to you since a lot of this stuff has gone down, and it's evolved. Obviously, I think I did hear Jay Monahan the other day, last night, when asked a question about, do you see someday, making peace with this? And he's like, no, I don't. So how do you see this whole thing playing out? I just don't think it's good for golf. I hate it. I want to see the best players on the PGA Tour. I hate the division. It's brought up to golf. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I hate to see it. It's, there's some theory that, any publicity is good publicity. Well, to me, the publicity that's gone on about golf and how it's kind of fractured now has been, hard to listen to and hard to read. Having been a member of the PGA Tour now for, coming up close to 50 years, you hate to see this division that has been created. How do I see it all playing out? JP, unfortunately, I think the tour has drawn a pretty hard line in the sand. And I could see where Jay Monahan would say, no, I don't see a way that, we'll ever coexist and work together. I have a feeling that the courts will probably end up deciding this whole thing. I mean, the latest lawsuit will go to trial. I think it's January or February, early next year. And if the court rules that, the PGA Tour as an entity can't, suspend these guys and can't prevent them from playing if they are qualified to play in these PGA Tour events, even though they're playing in the LIV events, I'm sure it'll get appealed by the tour. But, ultimately it seems to me that the courts will make that final decision. I don't see a scenario, JP, where the tour and LIV actually sit down and try to come to an agreement. I think it's gone beyond that at this point. A lot of the PGA Tour players feel like because there were former PGA Tour players involved in this lawsuit that LIV has created, they take it personally now. They're suing not only the tour, but they're suing the members of the tour, which are, a lot of them are friends and certainly been competitors for a long period of time. And I think it's taken on a very different feel than it was early on.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Hey, Gary Koch joining us here live for the President's Cup. We got a couple of very exciting things going on here in Tampa Bay, obviously where you live here and are a big part of. We've got an event coming up at Temple Terrace, which I'm going to be a part of. Thank you so much for inviting me. And we got a new short course at Rogers Park that the local First Tee, yourself very much involved in, is going to be a big boon for golf here locally. Talk about those items right there, if you would, Gary.
Yeah, well, obviously the event that you're going to be a part of, which we are looking forward to, is part of the 100-year celebration at Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club. It came into existence in 1922, so this is the 100th year of its existence. And my good friend and former teammate at high school there at King High, Eddie Pierce, is going to be in town, and it's going to be an evening of reminiscing, telling some of the old stories from Temple Terrace and part of the history of the club and some of the characters that kind of roamed those grounds back 50 years ago and since. And it should be a fun evening. It's always great to relive some great memories, and I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. And I'll be back in touch with you to kind of give you some hints on some of the stuff that we need to make sure we cover. So
absolutely.
I look forward to that. Our project that the First Tee is doing in conjunction with the Tampa Sports Authority and Rogers Park, 9-hole short course. We've had 6.5 acres there that was not being used, and Steve Smyers, noted golf course architect from Lakeland and a former teammate of mine at the University of Florida on the golf team, helped us create this 9-hole short course. I'm happy to say that we finally have got grass down. Sprigs are down on the greens.
Nice.
The tees are being sodded. The fairways are being sprigged. Our hope now is some good weather, good growing weather here in the next few months. And, if everything goes well, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have that open. And it's not only available, of course, it'll be used by the First Tee programs, but it'll also be open to the public. And I think it'll provide a lot of people a lot of enjoyment.
That's going to be so fun to be a part of that. Thank you so much. That's going to open up the golfing opportunity. Such an amazing game, not only for kids to play, but to learn some great lessons about life. And I know that's what the First Tee is all about. All right, Gary, hey, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy up there. A lot of people are favoring the Americans. We'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be a great competition. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate your time.
All right, JP. Always fun to be with you.
Thanks. The great Gary Koch right there. You get a short course out at Rogers Park. If you haven't played Rogers Park, by the way, it's a great layout. It really is. And it's inexpensive and a great play. Great play out there. Looking forward to the short course. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Brian Battie is going to join us. Had a great day in the swamp and almost upset the Gators. So we'll chat with him as they get another big-time shot for USF as they head to Louisville. Stay with us.
Here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Golden Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost relative or love? Experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach D'Antonio, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We were on with another great guest as Brian Battie joins us from USF practice as the Bulls are looking forward to a big game against Louisville. Brian, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic. Fantastic. How's your body feeling after rolling over those Gators all night on Saturday night in the swamp? That was a hell of a performance.
Thank you, man. My body's feeling good now, but we're towards the end of the week, so I had to get back right. A couple of days ago, I was pretty sore, but I'm back into that mode where I'm trying to get back fresh for this next game coming up.
Listen, I know it ended up as a loss, but I don't think anybody who watched that game can say anything but USF really acquitted themselves well. Probably should have won the game, especially with your performance on the ground. How is the team feeling after the game and this week? I would imagine you have to be buoyed by that performance.
Yeah, it was a emotional feeling at the end of the game. We were upset that we didn't get to finish it, but we're definitely optimistic about what we got coming up. We feel good. We got that confidence. We showed ourselves what we had the ability to do, and we did what we did last weekend. And that wasn't even our full ability. So we know we still got more in the tank, and we're just ready to show it and get some victories throughout the season.
Hey, Brian, y'all brought in, Gerry Bohanon to be your quarterback. Obviously won a lot of games at Baylor, and he comes in here with that winning mentality. What's it been like working with him, and how's he been in the locker room around y'all?
Oh, he's a great quarterback, great leader. He's your ideal quarterback. He's everything you would expect out of a quarterback. Leadership wise, he knows his stuff. You would think he's a coach if you didn't know who he was. He knows how to read defenses very well. He knows how to teach you how to watch film. He knows his playbook like the back of the hand, and he's a vocal leader. When practice isn't going well, he's going to be the one that stops everything and speaks up and lets everybody know that this isn't going to get us no wins on the schedule. But he's a great player on and off the field. He's a great person as well. He's definitely the leader of the team, and he speaks what he thinks. That's one thing I like about him, and he's a big tribute to our team.
Brian Battie joining us here, USF running back and kick returner extraordinaire as USF goes up to Louisville. It's a noon kickoff up in Louisville, facing off against some Malik Cunningham and the Cardinals, who lost a brutal game really to Florida State last week. I know you've been watching a lot of film of that game, and Florida State gashed them on the ground. I'm guessing that you believe that you guys can have another big day on the ground as well. Tell me about this matchup.
Yeah, we're always confident in what we can do. I always have my confidence in my big guys up front.
Yeah.
I can only do as much as they allow me. They did a great job last week opening things up. I couldn't ask for any better performance out of them, honestly. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what they're going to do again this weekend. They're always going to bring their A game. So as long as they do what they're supposed to do, we're going to have a great night on the ground.
And back to that Florida game, obviously it was a rocking atmosphere with 90,000 fans in there in the swamp. And I'm sure as a player, you probably fed off that energy, right? And just talk a little bit about playing in an atmosphere like that.
Oh, it was great. I mean, even though it was all their fans in there, we had our nice little section of fans behind our bench over there. But it felt even that much better to be able to silence them every time you made those big plays or was taking the lead in the game. It was a great atmosphere. They got a great fan base over there, and I like to play in a lot of games like that.
Yeah, that had to be so fun. And Brian Battie joining us. And Brian, you've been around here a long time at USF. Listen, I'm a big supporter of the program. We've been waiting for Jeff Scott and his team. You've gone through the COVID situation, and it just feels like, and I've said it all in the offseason, it feels like something special is about to happen at USF. And I thought it was going to happen on Saturday night, but it feels like that to me on the outside, and knowing a lot of people that are involved with this program and the work that you guys have been putting in. Does it feel that way? Or just give us a feeling for what you see as different from maybe 2 or 3 years ago. The new stadium is coming on campus. There's so much positive going around, but you guys got to win some football games. Just describe to me that feeling around the program right now from the inside.
Oh, it's a great feeling. I mean, a lot of my teammates we got that belief now. we brought a lot of new coaches in, a lot of new players, and got rid of a lot of bad, negative energy around here. So I can say that we all know what we're capable of and what we got in store. And you can just tell around here, everybody believes in one another. The coaches believe in the players, the players believe in the coaches, and the players believe in each other. It's more like a brotherhood around here now. Definitely a big change from when I first got here. And of course, now we got this indoor facility getting built up. I'm looking at it right now. It's about on its final stages right now. We're real happy about that. Then we should have our own stadium coming here on campus soon. It's just a lot of things. We got a lot of support from the outside, just not even people that's involved with the football program, but just the outside. Our president, President Law, she shows a lot of love and support to our team, and it's a big difference when you got the outside supporters that have the trust and faith in you and your guys. We're just thankful for them. We're thankful for our fans, and it just makes us even more hungry to go out there and win for not just ourselves, but for our supporters as well.
Brian Battie joining us, just the second consensus All-American in USF history behind George Selvey as a kick returner last year, 3 touchdowns last year on kickoffs, a 32-yard average. What is the secret to being a great returner? Do you just have to be a kamikaze and run as fast as you can, and if a seam opens up, you hit it as fast as you can?
You definitely you can't be scared to hit it. That's one thing you got to be able to do. You gotta just hit it. You gotta run. You can't be tiptoeing back there. And really, the biggest key to being a successful kickoff returner is having 10 other guys on the field with you who believe just as much as you do that every time you get it, you can take it to the house. And I can't be more thankful for those other 10 guys that were on the field with me every time, blocking, doing all that they can. And then as well, we got one of the best special teams coordinators in the nation with Coach Daniel DePrada. He does a great job scheming up all special teams, but most importantly, the kickoff return. He does a lot of things to exploit kickoff teams, and I just couldn't be more thankful for all the people that I have around me that helped me get to this point.
And Brian, you've also gotten more of an opportunity this year to be more of a running back, obviously. And I'm looking at it right now. You're averaging 10 yards a carry right now.
Damn.
Just third in the nation. I mean, brag a little bit. I mean, you think the nation should be talking more about Brian Battie at the moment?
Man, honestly, I don't really try to get into that type of stuff, man. I just go out there and play my game. I said, I wouldn't be able to do these type of things without my other guys out there with me. That's why I give a big shout out to my big guys up front. Without them, nobody would be able to average 10 yards a carry. I'm just so thankful for my teammates, my coaches, and I'm just trying to do all that I can to help us get some victories on the board. Just keeping my head down and keep working.
Brian Battie joining us, all 5'8", 165. You still 165, or have you put a little bit more weight on?
Yeah, no, I'm a little heavier than that.
Yeah, all right.
I'm about like 173, 175.
Oh wow,
now.
yeah, much bigger. But you have the heart. You have a heart of a lion, and I can hear the humility in your voice too. My partner here tried to bait you into bragging on yourself, but you didn't take the bait. So great, much credit for that. Before we leave, I read here that you're a big fisherman. You like to fish. What's the best fish you've ever caught?
I would say I really haven't. I don't really go fishing like out in the sea or nothing like that. I usually go like lake fishing with my cousin and stuff. But I probably caught like I don't know the weight, but I've caught pretty big bass.
Big old bass, yeah. That's something.
Yeah, I catch pretty big bass, but that's about all. I just really go bass fishing a lot, lake fishing.
Nice. Well, listen, Brian, it was great to see you guys have so much success. Didn't get the win on Saturday night, but it was a hell of a game for you. I look forward to tomorrow's or Saturday's game, noon, up in Louisville. Good luck to you and the program there. We'll be watching. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it. What a nice young man. What a nice young man. And very, very humble. You got to root for kids like that. No question about it. Consensus All-American, one of the best returners in the game.
Yeah, he didn't take my bait, but I mean, I'll brag about him.
You can brag about him.
I mean, listen, I mean, he's been a difference maker in that offense so far to open up the season. I mean, him and Xavier Weaver, I think, are the two key guys to that offense. And I said it, USF has found an identity on offense. And it's running the football, the offensive line, like he said, shout out to them. Because nobody can run 10 yards a carry without a great offensive line. Looking forward to seeing them on Saturday.
All right, so we want to bring in a good friend of the program, a longtime sports information director at Florida State University and athletic director at Montana and Georgia Tech assistant athletic director, been in college football and sports for a long, long time. The great Wayne Hogan, who joins us now. What's up, Wayne? How are you?
Hey, good morning. How's everybody?
Good, good. Sorry to keep you waiting there. Sorry, we had a star-studded show today. We had Brian Battie.
You had a great show. I really enjoyed hearing. I enjoyed hearing Gary Koch. He was he's a good guy and does a heck of a job. He really is. Even though he is a Gator.
That's right. That's right. We still make room for the good Gators, don't we? We always do. And he's one of them. Ain't no doubt about it. I tell you what. Let's talk a little Florida State football. Off to a 3-0 start for the first time since 2015. I mentioned that win at Louisville. And I know to a lot of people who didn't watch the games, you got to win at Louisville. No big deal. You lose your left tackle. You lose your quarterback, your leader, your best defensive player in Jared Verse, and a host of other guys. You face adversity all night long up there on a Friday night. Places going bananas, and you find a way to get a win. I tell you what, that to me is a culture changer. It was a huge, huge win. You've been involved for a long time. You know what goes into that, Wayne. What are your thoughts?
That you're absolutely right. I often said all the years I was in 35 years in college sports. I went to a million college football games, and I always felt like that most every college game, not every, but most every college game, every Saturday comes down to one or two plays. It really does. It comes down to one thing. Getting the first down, don't get the first down. Loses turnover. It's such a very thin line.
Yeah.
And the thin line between losing and winning is just an amazing thing. And if you get on the wrong side of it, which Florida State's been for a number of years, it just seems like everything, that one little thing every Saturday would go against you. Something would happen at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. But just by the same token, once things turn, it almost seems like it's divine intervention. I swear, one time when I was out at Montana, I get it's a smaller division, but we got on a roll one time and we were winning every Saturday, and every Saturday we were against the wall. I mean, it looked like we weren't going to win, and something would happen. Miraculously. And I watched it happen every single weekend. And you wonder how those things go. But my point is that once you turn it, it many times will lead to that kind of a string. And, I'm sure everybody's got their fingers crossed that this is really the turning of the worm up in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I think Mike Norvell, and I don't know how much interaction you've had with him, but I think he's really changed the culture up there. He really, really has. The way these players talk, and you could see it on the field. 3 years ago, if something bad happens to FSU, like you're talking about, they quit. They quit, and it was just a snowball downhill. The character of that team, the culture of the team was just awful, and he's changed that. You could see that in that Louisville game. You see it in the LSU game that I was at. They just don't quit. They keep fighting. They keep fighting. They keep fighting, and then that good thing happens. And then you win the football game. But the key is you gotta keep fighting. You can't quit.
I thought there was a great quote from Verse, the kid Verse, a couple of weeks ago when he said that everybody in that locker room was hand selected. That Mike Norvell and his team and his staff, they just didn't go out there throwing a bunch of scholarships out into the wind and hoping they get the right team, get the right guys. They apparently have done such a good job of selecting the kinds of guys they want in that locker room. It really makes a difference. And you can almost tell that And as Verse was saying, he said, you don't have a lot of people in there that just called up Norvell and said, hey, I really want to come play at FSU.
Right.
Didn't work that way. It didn't work that way. They knew who they were going to find, and they went out and found him. Now, this doesn't mean it's 100% back on track, but it's certainly a big step in the right direction. So it's a lot more fun to get up on Sunday morning, John. I'll be honest with you, than it has been the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh, no question about it. And Saturday morning this past week, it was great.
Saturday morning for sure.
It was great to see College Game Day in Boone, North Carolina, Appalachian State. You talked about Montana, and a lot of people don't think about some of these smaller programs, but that's the great thing about college football. Even these small programs have huge fan bases and dedicated fan bases. You saw it at Montana. You saw it at Florida State.
Yes.
It's different, but it's the same. And nothing seems to rally the people like the emotion of college football. And just to watch what was going on at Appalachian State last week, and then the way they won the game. I mean, is there a better game than college football?
How can you script that, right?
No.
I got an interesting twist on that, JP. The whole off season in college football, I was so miffed about the way things were spiraling.
Yeah.
The whole NIL thing, which I supported, but I didn't support the fact there was no rhyme nor reason to how to do it. It was kind of like the Wild West. The whole transfer portal thing, not a big fan of kids using that. Just they get mad one day at practice and they're going to just move on and be able to play. So I had this, and not to mention the ginormous salaries
that
they're paying these coaches nowadays. So I had this bitter taste. I'm kind of like an old grouchy guy, and now that I've gotten older, but I had this awful bitter taste about why my game that I love so much is just disintegrating before my eyes. I don't even like it anymore. I'm not gonna be as engaged in it anymore. I just don't like any of it. Well, the first day of college football season, I was glued to the TV for 12 straight hours. I could not throw it away. I just couldn't do it.
You know what? It's such a great point you make, and I'm the same way. I mean, we've been bitching about it all off season, and my partner Nick here has been saying all about it. He says, I'm glad the season is here so we can stop talking about transfer portal and NIL and everything else, because the magic of the game is going to bring us back in, right?
Absolutely. Suck me back in. I'll guarantee you. It's got me every Saturday for sure.
Yeah. And before we move on to the great thing we're doing at Florida State here, and you're going to tell us about with Florida Rising Stars, just one last thought. And because I want to pick your brain, because you've been involved with this for so long, college football. Since the last time we talked, things have happened. The college football playoff has expanded. It's going to go to 12 teams. The money there is just ridiculous. So there's talk now that they're going to somehow, some way control this NIL. Do you think there's a pathway forward where we can get back to something that kind of evens the playing field and we can return to some normalcy in college football? And how does that happen?
No, I don't. I don't. I think the cat's out of the bag now, and it's kind of a runaway deal. I think we can move in that direction. I don't know that we'll ever make it all the way back to that. But what I would tell you is this: the issue with me is just the enormous amount of dollars that these schools have, and it's kind of painful to watch almost, because they don't even know how to spend all the money that they have. I read a great article this week about University of Texas, and they broke down 2 recruiting weekends that they had, where they brought in recruits for campus visits, and they had 8 one weekend and they had 10 on a second weekend. One of them was Arch Manning, by the way, and so they broke down the expenses of those weekends, what they paid to bring in those kids and their families. They fly in the families now, and the pure unbelievable decadence of the recruiting trip was just phenomenal. They spent almost $750,000 $750,000 on 2 weekends of courting recruits. And they broke it down, everything from first class airfare for the recruit and their immediate families, to the hotels, to the parties, to the food, unlimited amounts of food, entertainment. It went on and on. So it was over $300,000 each weekend.
Wow.
Of those 2 weekends. So you're at the end of the day, you're about $650,000 for 2 weekends of
20
recruiting.
players. 20,
But
25
my only point, and they probably don't even get all of them. They get, a handful of them,
Right.
at the end of the day. But my point is that's what they're doing now. They're saying, well, who cares? There's this money train that's not going to end. And, what else are we going to do with it? We're going to spend
And here's the thing. Now that Texas has done it, Alabama's going to do it. Georgia's going to do it. And how do people keep up? It's just an arms race of decadence. I mean,
here's another one for you. I got recently somebody sent me the team photo, the team picture from the University of Florida. And I'm not picking on the Gators because actually I've gotten to be pretty good friends with a lot of them, including the old head ball coach has been one of my best guys here lately.
Yeah.
But I'm not picking on them. But somebody sent me the team picture. So they had all the players, lined up. They had 3 or 4 rows of players. What do you got? 100 players if you count the walk-ons and stuff like that. And then they had all the support staff in the picture. The support staff went on and on and on. There were at least twice as many people in polo shirts that there were in pads.
Yeah.
So somebody's paying all those people. Somebody's paying those people full time to work there. So it's just it's not the same. Not the same game I was used to.
It's NFL times 10. All right, tell me about the new program that kind of not kind of, but seriously gives a great honor to Coach Bobby Bowden, one of our great friends. May he rest in peace. This is a great thing you guys are doing at Rising Stars. Tell us about it.
Just a quick deal on that. It's very funny how life comes around in cycles, and one of the things I had the great opportunity, the greatest time of my life was when I worked with Coach Bowden for 20 years. I was his PR guy every day, set up all of his media engagements. I was very close. Obviously, you're with a guy day in and day out for 20 years. You're going to become pretty close. But I was close with the family even before that. Later on in Coach Bowden's life, I got a chance to be involved with the Bowden Dynasty film, the documentary film that John Cory and his team did such a great job with. And so it was like my whole life came full circle, you know. And so we do that film, and less than 4 years later, Coach Bowden passes away. And one of the things that he always used to tell me, and he told this to many people, I've had other people come to me, and he said, one of the reasons I'm doing this Bowden Dynasty thing is because I want young people to understand that you can do this business the right way and still succeed. You don't have to cheat. You don't have to do things that are out of line. You can do things that way, and you can be good to your neighbor and good to your brothers and good to your teammates. And he said, I just want young people to learn from this. And so to wrap it up, we just recently obtained the very final copies of there was a book that went along with the documentary, called The Bowden Dynasty. It's a paperback. It was written by a guy named Charlie Barnes up in Tallahassee, great guy.
Yeah.
And so the book chronicles the same kinds of faith, family, and football virtues that the documentary has. Well, we have some videotape. We have not video, but DVDs. We have DVDs, and we have the paperback books of the Bowden Dynasty. And we've got several thousand books, and not a lot, but a couple of thousand books. And we've got 400 or 500 of the sets of the DVDs. And so I've taken it upon myself to do what Coach told me to do before he died. And that was get this stuff in the hands of young people. So our organization, Florida Rising Stars, we deal with high school kids. That's what we do. We teach high school kids about careers in sports. So we go on to high school campuses, and we meet with kids about careers in sports. So what better way to distribute these materials than to actually do it ourselves?
Yeah.
And so it's going to be one of the great things of my life to be able to get out there in the schools and leave these books and leave these DVDs, and hopefully, they'll make an impact just the way Coach wanted. So very happy about it. We're asking our a lot of Coach Bowden's former players and coaches to help us with the project. We need some funding for it. It's not just a free, manna from heaven.
Right.
there is. So we're looking for donations of $250, which would supply a case of books and 2 sets of the DVDs at each school. So I had a great call the other day. Somebody called me and said, "I'll be happy to do this $250 thing, but can I pick the school? I want to give it to the high school that I went to."
Yes.
So we said, of course we can do that.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing right now. We're raising money for that. And this fall, we're going to distribute all that. And
what a great legacy
really
project.
project.
Yeah. So how do folks get involved with this? Just how do they reach you to buy this set? And they could do it for a high school football team. They can do it for a Pee-wee football team. They can do it for their local high school football team, or whatever group you want to. Just buy that and they'll send you a case and you can distribute it to the kids and have a set.
FloridaRisingStars.com. That's our easiest pathway. FloridaRisingStars.com. On the web, and you can go right to our website, and you'll find a button there that'll take you to how you can get involved in this project. It's very near and dear to a lot of people that love Coach Bowden.
I love, absolutely, and we're gonna promote it as much as we can here as well. Hey, Wayne, thanks for the conversation as always.
Love you guys.
Flexibility today, that was awesome. Great stories as always. We'll have to get together, share a few beers, and watch some college football this year. Thanks, buddy.
I can't wait. Let's do it. Good to see you guys. Nick, good to see you, buddy.
FloridaRisingStars.com. All right, that was a hell of a show there today. Wayne Hogan, James Petralka, Scott Carter, our Florida Gators report, Gary Koch live from the President's Cup, Brian Battie live from USF practice. That's a pretty good 2 hours of local stuff right there. Great job, Nick Geddes, to you, and we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do it all again. We'll do it all again. So we thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget, subscribe on our YouTube page. We need your support. Tweet out our show, retweet it, put it on your Instagram, tell everybody about it. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much. Have a great day.